Yay, happy lockdown, everybody. You might notice I'm getting a little bit dready, so I'm trying. My girlfriend's trying to take everything out right now. It's getting really dready. Anywho, so happy lockdown again for the third or fourth time, whatever it is here in Slovenia. And I was watching a video this morning on Japan for the third time. Felix Rex, who's the same guy as Black Pigeon Speaks, it's his other channel, was doing on Tokyo, lockdown over there. He did one back in April. It's quite odd, really freaky seeing Tokyo and you know, what's it called, Shinjuku area and all that being so quiet. Obviously no one's ever seen it that quiet, so it's pretty weird. But I've obviously made a video a few months ago on what will prove to be the right decision as far as lockdown. Will the Japanese model, because they obviously they don't have the right to impose a lockdown on their people. They were open about that when they first did the lockdown. Other countries weren't. Other countries that actually didn't have the right to, that did impose lockdowns. I was always for the case that the best thing to eradicate the disease, if that's what you want to do, was to lock down the whole world at the same time. But given the fact that would be absolutely impossible without a total single world government that controls everything, which is going to come with its own issues, then there's no point doing any lockdown at all. Go the opposite other way, right? And also that was based on the fact that the quickest ever vaccine was produced for a arguably more complex virus. It took 4 years to create. So how do we know that we can just work on something then? Oh, we'll have a result in about a year. We'll have a result. You can't say that. You can't tell what you don't already know, and that is how many stumbling blocks you're going to run into to fight this virus. Anyway, never mind that. That was just what I'm actually getting onto today is Occams Razor, and it's an argument I've seen used by people on the left and the right, particularly this year, more than I've seen it any other time. I've seen Hanlon's, I think it's many other razors being mentioned, but the Occams Razor is the one that gets mentioned the most. Obviously, it's the one that's the most well known, given the fact that I couldn't even mention the name of the other one without having a guess that I know of. So what I'm getting at here is Occam's Razor is meant to be the most simple explanation, is probably the right one. So when you don't know what something is about, you just apply, well, what's the simplest explanation? The problem is sometimes there's more than one simple explanation, and those simple explanations are equal to each other in simplicity and obviousness. So what you actually have to do, the Occam's Razor would actually deliver more than one result. And it's okay, because if you don't know, it's okay to say, I don't know, but these 2, 3, or even 12 things seem more likely. And what seems to be happening is people are using it as a mic drop moment, but they're applying Occam's Razor, and I've seen Trumpers do it as well, but I've seen it particularly on the left. As usual, the last 4 years, the left have been more crazy than the crazy left have been more crazy than the crazy right? And this has got me into saying statements like that has got me into trouble with the groupthink morons on both the left and the right, of which some were my friends in the past and aren't anymore, because I just don't have time to get into negative energy by someone who's not rational. If you can, I will spend time on anyone, and then we'll get to the state of, right, oh well, even get to the state of saying we don't agree, but hey, we both brought our good points forward and we still don't agree. But someone who refuses to come to the table and rationally debate anything, or just laugh like that, or they do it, and like my brother Paul does it. He's a hardcore right-winger, and he just does it with those stupid emoticons, like most on the right do, emoticons and memes. Although this year, the lefties have come into their own with the whole meme thing. It's just, and they're just doing the same. Instead of arguing a case, they'll just forward a meme. Instead of rebutting a point, they'll just forward a meme, reply with a meme. They don't. So again, it's not the smartest person in the world that has to rely on, oh, let me see what Jeff's Facebook has to respond with. Let me see what emoticon I can use, instead of actually saying something. So leave my emoticon reply of, ha! What, are you laughing with the guy? You're laughing at it. That's the thing. All that ambiguity is, well, it's similar to when text messaging came around. When text messaging came around the first few years, you saw a massive increase in breakups. Why? Because people would argue with their partners and break up out of context. And I've seen it so many times, people crying and all that. And I had it in my own life as well. I had a few cases. I'm trying to think back to text messaging. Not only had one relationship really that had an issue with the text messaging. Like she always had the mobile in her hand the whole time, you know. And that one, that doesn't matter. But no, I've seen a lot of breakups happen with a lot of my friends, and you see stuff online, and you see stuff. You know, a punctuation mark. It's the difference between knowing your shit and knowing your shit. You know, where you put the apostrophe. Knowing you are shit, or knowing your shit about a subject. You know. So yeah. So basically. Again, please excuse my hair. I look like Mattis Yahoo from 10 years ago, right? Yeah. So basically about this Occams Razor, you could apply it in these situations where people used to break up over something very, very simple. So for example, oh come on, do you really think I said that to you, or you know, would it be believable that I really said something horrible about you, or is it more believable that I missed out an apostrophe? Right? These are kind of the cases where I remember thinking back that some people got themselves into hot water for in relationships for nothing, almost like their partner wanted to disbelieve them, or you know, you get a lot of these insecure guys when they who will constantly think just they've got a good-looking girlfriend, and they'll drive them away by constantly accusing them of cheating. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, you know, what's the simplest explanation? That I rush outside and quickly find a guy to shag, and you know, or that I was just out doing the shopping for a few minutes, given the fact that I'm holding a Tesco's bag in my hand, just shit like that. You know what I mean? But they'll apply their Occam's razor to their what they think's the most simple thing. Well, obviously you're out cheating, you know, and this is how this extends on to what we have going on today. People will use Occam's razor to something that is so convoluted. That happened, that happened, that happened. Okay, let's take the American situation, the election right now. I would say Occam's razor would say that anyone who doesn't want an audit has something to hide. Quite straightforward, yeah? But I'd also say, you could say on the other side, well, anyone refusing to concede. Well, that's a single step argument, isn't it? Because what's the reason for someone to concede? In the belief that they lost. Well, Democrats preempted that one in America by saying that Trump would do this. But then again, if you look at what narcissists tend to do, they get in early and they blame people for doing what they know they're guilty of. I know a guy, Jonathan Parker Bray, who runs a company that I was working with, helping him out, and brought a few people into his company to help him out. He fucked everyone over. The guy's a narcissistic jackass. I just didn't know him that well when I worked with him 20 years ago. Now I've got to know him a lot better. He's a complete fucking dick. But has absolutely no scruples about screwing people over, but will constantly make it, like people who haven't even taken money off him. Some guys that work for him for free that I tried to help out afterwards, he basically treated them like slaves, and then accuses them of screwing his company up. He's the CEO. This is what a narcissist will do. But what they'll also do is they'll not only point out everyone else's failings all the time, but they will get in early and accuse people of things that they know they are, right? Like unreliable, like never being on time. So someone else might not be on time because of something that he told them to do, and then he'll jump in quickly and say, "Oh, he's always never on time." It's like, hang on, that's the first time that guy's ever been late for a meeting. You, on the other hand, are late every single time, and even got here 5 minutes late this meeting. Yet you want to talk about some other dude. It's not me because I'm always on time. I make a big thing about being on time. Right, so basically I'm just getting into the nature of narcissism, and what I could see happening. So, okay, you're saying that this is going to be... I also recognized from Trump's point of view, what I thought at the time was the reason he was pointing out the fact that postal votes can't be trusted. By the way, this is a common belief. That's why it's been banned in many countries, such as France, years ago in the 60s. But let's just say I still had my doubts about Trump on that respect. Because you know why? Because I'm not for either side. I don't have, as I said to an ex-friend of mine on this channel, he doesn't actually watch it, he just comes on to troll. I don't have a dog in the fight. I just point out when I see injustice. I just point out when I see the sneaky side, when I see evil, I don't believe that any side of any government, I don't believe that anyone who could ever be put into a position of power has not been pre-vetted and pre-selected. So I don't give a fuck who wins. They're never people who can be trusted. But what I can see in a situation right now is that in the small amount of autonomy that Trump has, that he was doing more about the real situations in America than what previous administrations did. For example, jobs, which is why he has such a big black following, which is why they had to obviously falsify so many votes, because you can't get a 200% turnout. You can't even usually get a 100% turnout for an election. I don't know if you know this, anybody out there listening to this. If you look all around the world, try find me ever when you've had 100% voter turnout. That is the same amount of votes as you have registrations. So that looks even more ridiculous when you get 120 to a 200% turnout in an area, doesn't it? Now, these are facts. This isn't opinion. This is facts, because you can go on into the US government websites and actually see the subpoenas, sorry, not subpoenas, the lawsuits and affidavits that have been filed. So, I mean, these are people that are looking to perjure themselves. If they're taking on a case to put themselves in a potential perjury charge which carries 10 plus years in jail, I don't think so. You show me someone in the Democrat Party that's risking that, but all I see is people who don't want the case to be listened to. Occams Razor. I don't want it to be listened to because I don't want transparency. I don't want transparency because I have something to hide. Right? Just like my Occams Razor before was that Trump will probably use that as an excuse later on because he's already forewarning us about postal ballots. Then again, we do know that most normal countries in the world are banning them or reducing them to the military services and things like that, right? Like I couldn't do a postal vote years ago, for example, in Scotland. It was unavailable. I'm gonna leave it there. But yeah,